Okay, welcome back to What If History Restarted. This is episode 54. Last time, I kinda forget. I think it was just I definitely remember this happening. And this might have been that episode, or maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But anyway, today we're more gonna be focusing in on, the Europe and Middle East sort of area. Because in this world, these areas are pretty culturally similar and are kind of in terms of, culture and history and all that, are kind of one continent, maybe, like that. But yes, let me just make sure. Yep, okay. So anyway, we're going to first look over here in the Balkans, more specifically at this country. Now, if you remember, one of the things that happened right before World War I was that the king of this country died, and that's kind of one of the reasons that World War I started. But anyway, obviously after that king died, his son came in power, but now that son has died of a heart attack, fairly young. But that would mean that it's now time for a new leader, and obviously that leader would be that son's son, because, it's a monarchy. However, a lot of the people don't want a monarchy. They want a president and to vote. So, elections start, being run, but they aren't really anything official. And the government keeps cracking down on them. And the son, who is not very popular as a leader, declares himself as king and starts really, not allowing those elections. And so a lot of people over in this area are going to start being rebellious, and these rebels are not going to be able to be put down, and so a full-on revolt begins. These guys want democracy, and these guys want monarchy. Now, it does seem a little bit weird. Well, hold on. We're just going to look at the actual thing first, before I explain. But anyway, the Green Rebellion here is going to start growing a decent amount. They cut off 2 cities and take this one. They then met at the gates of this one and kind of just go around, storm through this one pretty easily. We see another pocket form up down in the south here. These guys take that city, and now they start marching down. Over here in the south, these guys aren't being as successful, although they do make a small push and get pushed back slightly. And over here, these guys are pretty much unstoppable, and they manage to meet the gates of the city. And from there, the king is like, okay, fine. How about you guys can be independent, and then I'll still be king over this, but you'll have your own independent, democratic country. So eventually, the rebels are going to agree up here, and so this rebellion is done. But down here, these guys aren't. They are still rebelling. But now that these guys are focusing in on, their entire military, since they aren't distracted by this anymore, it starts going a lot easier. Eventually, these guys get pushed back to just about this, and from there, they're going to ask for the same agreement, and reluctantly, the king is going to agree, and that's mostly just because there's, risks of other rebellions popping up, no, not the letter R, but yeah, they could pop up, over here and over here. He doesn't want that, so he's going to decide to end the war here. So now we get to look at this peace treaty. This new border is going to be established right around here, and there we go. As for these guys, they will be made independent, and they're not going to look exactly like that. Their borders will be a little bit more like this. So there we go. Macedonia. 8. Yep. Okay, so now this is our new area down here. Dalmatia is no longer Dalmatia, as they have lost a decent amount of land. They're now sort of like Albania, maybe, I'll call them. But now this country is the new Dalmatia, and we have this Macedonian country. So yeah, these guys are all like the same. Yeah, these guys are all the same ethnicity, I believe. Well, other than a little tiny bit up here and up here. But for the most part, they're the same ethnicity, everyone here. So that wasn't really an issue, it was just the democracy. But anyway, if you remember before World War One, this Green Rebellion is kind of what the Dalmatia actually used to look like, but then just won a ton of land out of World War One. So it seems kind of weird that they like lost their core territory. But if you remember even further back, these guys actually started out like up here, and they like slowly migrated over to here. And so really, they actually just got put back to their core land. So this is like actually more heritage, makes sense for them to own. And this is like their old home they lived in temporarily. Let's do this because that might look cool. No, it does not. That's fine. Okay. Anyway, hold up. There's going to be quite a few rebellions and revolutions this episode, as we're now going to be turning over here to Anatolia. So, prior to World War One, we had the massive Red Team Empire that controlled, like, bam, 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 bam. No, not that. But yeah, we had this massive Red Team Empire that controlled, like, all of that. But as you can see, they got absolutely obliterated and now look like this. However, these two countries did exist before them, before the Red Empire. I mean, I lost the color again. Hold on. Damn. Boop, boop, boop. La, boop, boop. But yeah, these two countries were, they were independent, and then they got annexed by the Red Team, and then they were made into countries again after World War One. However, their new governments are not too great. We can see that they are both in the Circle Economic Alliance, so that's providing them with some economic support. However, this bigger one over here is still absolutely crumbling. There's a lot of corruption and money laundering and all that going on over here in the government of this country. And eventually the people are pretty tired of that, and so revolutions start swelling up. Hey, there's a little bit of the Red Empire over here. Bam. But yeah, so it starts over here and kind of just takes over the entire inland area, then comes up to like the Sea of Marmara. They take over, is that ocean? I think it's supposed to be ocean, so we'll make it ocean. They isolate this Constantinople, Istanbul kind of city and take it over. From there, it's just the southern half, which they cut into two. And yeah, eventually the capital is all that's left, and that falls. Burp, exquisle me. And we can see that the rebels have fully taken over the old country here, and have started their own new country. So, like, sometimes you'll see a rebellion take over a country. I think that happened in, like, Ukraine, and they stay the same color. And that's because, like, they're pretty similar to the old government. They're just, like, replacing people with new people. But over here, this is, like, a different color because it's a complete overhaul. They have a whole new name. The old country. This country is dead, and they are now replaced by this purple one. Anyway, this purple one, they have an interesting little plan here. Basically, they keep taking a lot of money from the Circle Alliance, and they're like, oh, hey, guys, we need that because we just got out of a revolution. Circle Alliance members, remember, this is an economic alliance, not a military alliance. But yeah, Circle Economic Alliance members are like, okay, that makes sense, and they give them a bunch of money. And then they use that money to fix themselves, which is, what they were saying they're going to do. But then they go ahead and leave the Circle Economic Alliance. And, yeah. From there, they are going to turn their attentions to maybe expanding a little bit. As we can see, they immediately start to do that by invading this gray country. However, this gray country is not going to be undefended, as the blue team and this yellow team are both going to come to its defense. So we see that this vital city is already practically captured, just barely not. Let's make this a little bit more visible. blue team troops start flooding in here, and that's going pretty swell. So yeah, these guys did not expect this to happen, and as we can see, they're now getting pushed back pretty severely. However, they do have one little trick up their sleeves, which is that over in the red team, there are still some very bad people that want the empire back. Obviously, they got a government overhaul, and like most of their people want the government to, stay peaceful. But there's definitely a minority of people who want the old, greater Red Empire back. And so a lot of these people actually live over here in like the border areas of the yellow team. And so we do see that, well, I guess they shouldn't be that color, we're just going to make them like this color for now. So we see that these separatist movements over here are kind of wanting to join up with the red team. Now that does kind of make sense because this is the red team's actual ethnicity, and so, well, it's not even part of their ethnicity, so maybe it wouldn't be up there, but like down here and down here we would definitely see some rebels because these are the actual red team people. Let's just bam. Over here the yellow team kind of has to take their troops away and focus in on that, so they do that, and these guys sue for peace with them. Now that just leaves the blue team and the gray team. But yeah, those guys are pretty passionate on pushing in. However, now the purple team manages to secure a decent amount of their military back, and through some nice tactics and all that, they managed to push back the gray and blue teams by a decent amount, which, is pretty impressive considering that the blue team is way stronger. Obviously, they don't push them fully out, but eventually the war is just going to end here, and we see that the gray team is given a little bit of land as compensation, pretty much all of the land that they got in the war as the front line. Maybe a little bit less, though. Bam. That's too straight line-y. But yeah, meanwhile, over here, these guys are still dealing with their issue. And so eventually, this rebellion kind of like takes all the land at once. And now it's like, okay, we know that you want peace, so how about we go and join the red team? But both the yellow team and even the red team say no to this, because the red team, like I said, government overhaul, a lot more peaceful now. So they don't actually want this land because they don't want to be seen as like warmongers. Also, this is way too close to the color of that Hijaz country, so we're gonna change it again. I'm gonna make it this color. Oh, now it looks like this country. We're just gonna make it black, sure. But yeah, the rebellion is kind of stuck now, so they're just gonna keep rebelling because that's all they really have left to do. However, this is now going pretty far as they start absolutely destroying the yellow team. You also see another minority group up here, which is the pink ethnicity. Yeah, they start to rebel as well. That's fun. And yeah, pretty quickly we see that there's some issues with this country as it is dying right now. We see another separatist movement up here. These guys just want their own country. And then interestingly, we see that this country over here, they've sort of changed their objective, and they now just want a bunch of land and to form their own new empire. However, there are still some people that are very loyal to the red team, so they don't even want to be in this new empire. They just want to be in the red team. So we see that there's a rebellion within this rebellion. This country gets involved just as like a peacekeeping force. So they go up into the like Palestine area. Eventually, this country just kind of crumbles in on itself and dies. There we go. So the purple country probably would have got involved, but fortunately, I guess they were still recovering from their war, so they did not decide. So they decided that would be a bad idea. Anyway, those tiny separatist movements that were like still extremely loyal to the red team, the red team is gonna be like, okay, fine, we'll let you in because this isn't that much land, and if you guys really want to join, then that's fine. So the red team does Ew, that looks terrible. But yeah, the red team does grow a little bit in size, so oh no, we're all gonna die. Anyway, the Hejaz country is going to take the land that they want. Whoa, no. Which, to be fair, isn't that much. But yeah, it's something like that. This border looks kind of ugly. We'll have to do something about that. And so now we have these, the other, now there's there's the Black Rebellion, the Orange Rebellion, and the Pink Rebellion. So all of them need their countries now. We're going to make that orange one first. These guys are going to be pretty small. They're just, we'll give them, like, we gotta give them a major city, so, like, take that. 2, actually. And there you go. And then we have the Pink Rebellion, who's probably even smaller. And you know what, we'll just keep them pink, because I think that works well for this area. That looks okay, I guess. And meanwhile, that Black Rebellion is going to form their own country, which I don't want to make it too oddly colored. There's just a lot of colors here now, so it's kind of hard to find a new one. We could make them like cyan. That could work. And yeah, I guess we'll make these guys like really burnt orange. Yeah. So yeah, all these guys need capitals. I mean, these guys already have one, but we still need one for you. One for you. And there we go. That is the end of the yellow country. They lasted about 15 years, so great job. Anyway, speaking of, lasting 15 years, we have this country down here, which, okay, well, I'm gonna say, like, right now, it's not gonna die right now, but, like, it's gonna, you know, it's been 15 years since it was created, and it's already gonna get into a pretty big conflict, because over here, in the Hejaz country, have some pretty big, disputes over territory, and as well as control of the Red Sea, because these guys are, like, setting up their own, you know, ships over here, because Egypt is actually really, freeing. Well, Egypt obviously kind of has, like, most of the dominance over the Red Sea. Well, at least the northern half. Well, northern majority, because, you know, Oman only really has this. Like, Egypt has a decent amount of authority over it. But, like, they still, since they're allies with Hejaz and allies with this country, they allow for both of those countries to have their own influence over it. However, Hejaz is the purple country has been kind of encroaching on Hejaz's authority, and they don't really like that, obviously. So they're going to tell these guys to stop, and these guys do not stop. And, I mean, this happened a while ago, this was like 10 years ago, and so that's going to make tensions not so friendly between these countries. And then, to make matters worse, I believe that they are both in the Circle Economic Alliance. They then have hold on, so yeah, there's a dispute over the funds of the Circle Alliance, and so that's going to make tensions really bad. And then there's some disputed territories up here after that war we just saw, and eventually things are just going to boil over, and Hejaz is going to start invading. Then Egypt is going to be like, hey, purple country, you should just give Hejaz some land. And the purple country is not going to be listening to Egypt, because obviously they don't want to give up their land, so they start pushing in as well. But then Oman, you know, this is like Egypt's the mom and Oman's the dad. It's like, okay, now this is, yeah. And so Oman starts pushing in, and they pretty much immediately take the capital and this major city of this country, as well as like the vast majority of its population. So it is going to be like, okay, Oman will stop. But Hejaz does not stop. And so then Egypt is like, okay, Hejaz. And now Egypt starts invading Hejaz. And so Hejaz is like, okay, Egypt will stop. And eventually Oman and Egypt kind of like signed the peace treaty for these guys. Basically, they like force them to exchange land just to make everyone happy. So Hijaz gets all of that, and these guys get all of this. And that is the peace treaty for that area. And that is also going to actually be the end of this episode. I know it's a little bit short, but I'm going to have to deal with it. So, goodbye.